Díomh go léir is an ormhórdamsa mar ar dachis fehan agus bháil mar dús mo bhachas a gháil a socht an deisio chuirtam chun búla live agus chun leir live in Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great privilege for me as Minister for Education to join you here today. And I would like to especially thank your General Secretary, Michael Gillespie, and your President, David Waters, for the invitation and indeed for the welcome received here today. Thank you all. In my address today, I would like to reflect on some of the successes of the education system, as well as some of the challenges and opportunities facing schools as a result of a changing global context. And indeed, looking to the future, to how we can build on the strengths of our schools, our teachers and our leaders, to make sure that we are providing all of our young people with the very best and inclusive educational opportunities that they deserve. Education in this country is rightly valued, and nearly everyone, I appreciate and indeed understand, almost everyone has an opinion on how we can do things better. But I do think it is important, however, to, now and again at least, take time out to celebrate our successes. And the Programme for International Student Assessment, or PISA, the 22 results released last December, are indicative of just some of the strengths of our system. In my international engagements, I meet with ministers of education from other countries who now frequently ask me how Ireland maintained and indeed improved the performance of our 15-year-olds despite the stresses and challenges of the pandemic. The results show that Ireland's 15-year-olds are the best in reading literacy in the EU and the OECD. They are also performing significantly higher than the OECD average in maths and science. And I am very, very clear, without a shadow of a doubt, Ireland's performance in PISA and all other performance testing provides strong evidence of the truly excellent, committed and talented teachers that are at the head of every classroom in Ireland today. And I do want to sincerely thank each one of you for all that you do in this regard. As teachers and school leaders, you also work on the ground to deliver a more inclusive education system by helping to establish new special classes in post-primary schools. And you have been a beacon to society in terms of your welcome to the 18,000 Ukrainian students who have enrolled in Irish schools since the Russian invasion of their country. You have also helped students of families who are seeking international protection in this country. And again, I thank you for this. I will speak to you shortly about the significant developments in relation to senior cycle reform since last year's TUI conference. But I would like to start by focusing on one of my own passions, and that is transition year. I am an enormous fan of transition year, based on my own experience in the classroom. I think we should never, ever underestimate the importance of it. I personally felt I could always identify the student who completed transition year, because they already had that extra edge and maturity, particularly so when they reached sixth year. I really, really do feel that every young person should have an opportunity to participate in transition year. It's actually very encouraging that there are 57,800 students in transition year this year, the highest level ever, and up 14,000 approximately on only 3 to 4 years ago. This in fact means that 80% of students who completed last year's junior cycle are in transition year. Again, a record level of participation. The programme is in practically every school, with only literally a handful of schools who don't provide it. To my mind, TUI is a great way for students to develop more of the skills they will need in a rapidly changing world. Irish society is being impacted by globalisation, migration, climate change and technology. Our students can gain new experiences in transition year, which help them to respond to all of these new developments. Schools themselves have already demonstrated their ability to work with local businesses and own organisations to provide a strong transition year programme for their students. And we want to help within the department to keep fostering these school-led innovations. But I do know too that in reality that the cost of family contributions has been raised as one of the potential barriers to access to transition year for many students. That is why I will be providing €2 million in additional funding to support transition year from the next school year, in addition to the restoration of the capitation funding already committed to. We in the department are also working on ways to support schools to further open up opportunities for their students to have taster modules, where they have opportunities to experience aspects of an apprenticeship programme or life in a further education and training college. Some schools are already doing this, but I want to get all schools to the point where they are offering these types of TUI tasters in the coming years. I also believe that TUI offers a space for the rollout of a new shortened road safety model. I met recently with Sam Wade, the Chief Executive of the Road Safety Authority, and he gladly accepted the challenge that I put to him, which is developing a new transition year model that could be introduced in schools in the forthcoming school year. We will be looking to work with schools in this regard on a pilot basis over the coming months. On another note, could I say that we are fortunate on this island to have been able to recently celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. It has delivered a peace that was once thought impossible, and it has survived the challenge that was posed by Brexit. The Windsor Framework, which was agreed in January last year, was immensely important in setting the post-Brexit arrangements for Northern Ireland. The framework confirms Northern Ireland's place in the UK internal market, as well as giving it access to the EU single market for goods. What is even more positive, really, is that we have a power-sharing government back in operation in Stormont, working on behalf of all communities in Northern Ireland. I look forward to attending the next meeting of the North-South Ministerial Council, which was set up under the Good Friday Agreement. It will be the first time it has met since the middle of 2021, and it will be another positive development for all of the people on the island of Ireland. But whilst we are grateful for the peace process that put an end to the bloodshed on this island, we are deeply disturbed and horrified by the conflict in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas. The Irish Government has consistently called for an immediate ceasefire and the unconditional release of hostages. The UN Security Council has passed a resolution to the same effect. Israel must immediately facilitate full, rapid, safe and unhindered humanitarian access into and throughout the Gaza Strip. This is clearly Israel's responsibility. This is clearly Israel's responsibility under international law, and there is no alternative to this if we want to avoid mass hunger. At this point, I'd like to take a moment to address the new Free School Books initiative for junior cycle students. This is a landmark initiative in Irish education, which will benefit 213,000 students in over 670 post-primary schools from this September. It is a scheme that will save families, including yours, considerable sums of money, hundreds of euro, that they would have previously been spent to make sure students had the textbooks, calculators, homework journals, copybooks, exam papers and other classroom resources that they might require. I do appreciate that the Free School Book scheme for junior cycle students will increase the administrative burden on post-primary schools. And that is why, similar to the primary scheme, an administrative support grant has been put in place to assist post-primary schools with the administrative work involved in implementing this scheme. Schools may use this grant to employ a person for a specified number of days to carry out administrative work on the scheme. 10, 13 or 16 days are allocated to each post-primary school based on the size of the school's junior cycle enrolment numbers. But I am also conscious that procurement may seem daunting for larger post-primary schools that are tendering school book contracts, particularly where these are higher value contracts. I want to assure you that schools will have significant support in this process. I will ensure that there are user-friendly resources to help with this. There will be further practical resources, including live webinars, online drop-in clinics, together with email support and a telephone help desk. This will be provided by the school's procurement unit, enhanced with additional personnel from the Education Shared Business Service team in my department and augmented with further procurement expertise. Details on how to access the supports available will be provided to schools following the Easter break. This year also sees the centenary of the Leaving Certificate. I know that many students, past and present, may balk at me saying that we should celebrate this historic milestone, but in many ways, the exam has served us well. I looked back recently on how our post-primary system must have looked in 1924. 995 students sat the exam in its first year. Thanks in part to the free secondary school scheme introduced by a predecessor of mine and Ireland's outstanding record internationally in retaining students to the end of second-level education, numbers sitting the Leaving Certificate are now in excess of 60,000 students and fast approaching 70,000. Since I addressed last year's conference, there have been important developments in the area of senior cycle reform. We have accelerated the redevelopment of the curricula for senior cycle subjects. As of today, there are 9 new and revised subject specifications at the consultation stage. These 9 subjects include 2 brand new, exciting and relevant subjects: climate action and sustainable development, and drama, film and theatre studies. They will be introduced for 5th-year students starting in September next year. This is just the start of it, however. We are modernising the senior cycle subjects in phases because the consultation around the new curricula for each subject takes time, and so does the training of teachers. The next tranche of revised subject specifications will come into effect for 5th years starting in September of 26. This will include a new accountancy specification, replacing one that is decades old, and new specifications for English and geography as well. There will be a further wave of new specifications for 5th years beginning in September of 2027. I do know from my own teaching experience that revised subject specifications can be challenging, but I am also giving you a commitment that my department has learned the lessons from the junior cycle implementation. I have listened to the experience of school teachers when previous programmes of change were introduced and learned from what worked well and what could, and I would say should, have worked better. We will have the Tranche 1 subject curricula approved more than 1 year before they will be taught in schools. IDA are involved in the development phases to ensure that they plan effectively. I am also intent that the introduction of each new or revised subject is accompanied by a robust package of guidance and sample exam papers, and that these will be provided earlier than has been the case in the past. IDA is well advanced in the design of a comprehensive programme to support teachers, and this will start to be rolled out in the next school year. We are also rolling out supports for schools that will be offering the 2 new subjects of drama, film and theatre studies, or climate action and sustainable development. They will receive an additional teaching allocation to allow them to take on the new subjects. Schools will, in essence, receive an additional allocation of 4 hours per week for the 25-26 school year and 8 hours per week in the 26-27 school year. We will also ensure that these schools will have the same equipment as each other as necessary to offer these subjects. But most importantly, I want us to work with principals and teachers every step of the way. We have already hosted a nationwide meeting of principals in Croke Park to hear directly from them, and as new specifications are rolled out, there will be school and subject-level meetings. I know that equality of access to education has been a core value for the TUI, and one that you continue to passionately pursue and promote every day. The education system can play a very powerful role in combating social exclusion. As Minister for Education, I am fully committed to supporting all schools so that all students can achieve their full potential. One of the initiatives I have been most proud of during my time in the Department of Education is the single largest ever expansion of the DESH programme, delivering equality of opportunity in schools. DESH is the Irish word for opportunity, and there are now almost 1,200 schools in the DESH programme, giving opportunities to 240,000 students. That's 1 in 4 of all our students now benefiting from DESH supports. But I want to build on this work, which is why the Department of Education has asked the OECD to review the current DESH model. And this will provide an independent, expert opinion and make recommendations about the best ways of supporting students at risk of educational disadvantage in both DESH and, importantly, in non-DESH schools. I'm very conscious of the work that you do, not just to support the students in your schools academically, but also to prepare them for the world they live in today as young adults. As such, I know you share my determination that we work together to best support the mental health and well-being of all of our young people. We know that young people learn more effectively and have better academic outcomes if they are happy in their work and feel acknowledged and supported in school. We also know that the demand for responsive services to support the mental health of children and young people is increasing, particularly in the aftermath of COVID, and reported associated increased levels of anxiety. For that reason, I am very pleased to confirm that I am making funding available to enhance the existing wellbeing and mental health supports in post-primary schools. I have asked my officials to issue a tender in early April seeking proposals from service providers to enhance the supports already available in schools. I anticipate that a contract for such a service provider will be awarded for a period of 2 to 3 years, and the provider will be asked to develop and deliver additional supports to complement existing school systems and structures. The services sought will provide supports for students, parents and school staff, and enhance student support teams and their capacity to operate significantly and effectively in our schools. This support will build on the good work already happening in schools to enhance well-being and mental health, and it will complement existing supports from NEPs, IDA and other services and agencies. I am also pleased to confirm today that Trinity College Dublin and Marino Institute of Education have secured a contract to offer an innovative 2-year programme aimed at enhancing the skills of registered post-primary teachers in Irish. Is deis úntachaí seo do bhúnseoirí a chuid gaeilge a orbert gan éon táille a íoch. Cuasaí páirt aimsirthe a bheith ann agus cuirfar fáil é bhealach sa lufa sa seomra ranga agus líne. Bhfuilhíonn go láidir déon bhúnseoir iarmhonscoile a bhfuil spéisiige sa ghéileann breathnú isteach sa chláirsa. As we continue to modernise and reform our curriculum and teaching practices, we need also to be conscious of the rapidly changing world in which schools operate. We know that artificial intelligence is already changing the way that people live and the way that people work. I know that the TUI recently held a seminar in Mullingar on AI and that there are several motions indeed relating to it at this conference. AI, in fact, has been around for almost 70 years. And I must tell you this, and I do so with great modesty, that there is a strong Kerry connection to it. Many consider the Dartmouth Summer Research Project, organised in Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire in 1956, as the birthplace of AI. The term artificial intelligence was coined in a paper that was written for this summer seminar. One of the authors of that paper was John McCarthy, a Stanford University computer scientist whose family hailed from Cremone, near Killarney, here in County Kerry. He is in fact considered to be one of the founding fathers of the discipline of artificial intelligence. In the late 1950s, McCarthy invented Lisp, which has become the programming language of choice for AI applications. And so we have all been using AI for a long, long time in everyday lives to identify spam mail, in navigating apps, and in online chatbots. But it is the emergence of generative AI, particularly in the form of large language models such as ChatGPT in November of 22, that has caught our attention now. ChatGPT became the fastest growing app in history and now has 180 million users and around 1.5 billion visits to its website monthly. There is no doubt, absolutely no doubt, but that AI has great potential to enhance education and inclusion. But there are also many issues and challenges with its use. Education and training have a key role to play in ensuring that AI is used effectively and ethically, and in line with data privacy legislation and guidelines. The recent approval by the European Union of the AI Act will ensure safety and compliance with fundamental rights, whilst boosting innovation by establishing a regulatory framework. We want our students to be able to use generative AI for its potential benefits, but avoid them becoming over-dependent on it to do their thinking and their learning for them. That is why my department, with the support of IJA, is working on new AI guidelines to help educators. It is intended that the initial guidelines will provide an overarching awareness of the opportunities and the risks and what should be taken into consideration in using AI in a safe, responsible and ethical manner. Ireland, in fact, was one of 5 EU countries involved in the Artificial Intelligence for and by Teachers project. This was a 3-year experimental programme exploring how to support the use of AI in education for post-primary language and maths teachers. The resources developed from this project, including an online professional development course, are available now online. IJA also recently hosted an event in Athlone with teachers on the use of AI. The goal of the day was to identify their needs regarding AI in the classroom, how to increase awareness of AI and data literacy among all staff members and school leadership, and what supports the school system should be offered. The report from this will now help us inform future policy developments. I want to acknowledge the hugely important role that public sector unions play in helping to deliver high-quality public services for people in Ireland. I welcome the fact that the new Public Service Pay Agreement has been backed by all teacher unions and now ratified by ICTU. The agreement continues the important programme of reform which enables improved service delivery for citizens. The agreement provides for further pay increases, which will increase the starting pay for a teacher to around €46,000 and the top point to around €85,000. Taken with increases under Building Momentum, there has been significant and well-deserved improvements in the pay of teachers in the last 3 years. A local bargaining mechanism is also provided for, through which my department and unions can engage to negotiate further additional changes to conditions of employment. And I know that you already have proposals in mind, And so the Department of Education will engage from the summer with teacher unions to identify priority issues that might be tackled under this mechanism. In Budget 2024, I secured the funding for an additional 1,000 posts of responsibility to be provided in the school system for the 2024-25 school year. At my request, the Department has engaged in a consultation process with the teacher unions and the school management bodies to ensure that the recruitment process for these posts can commence as soon as possible following the issuing of these circulars. And these circulars will issue immediately after Easter. This is absolutely and clearly with a view to ultimately facilitating schools to make appointments to these posts and other posts of responsibility in time for the commencement of the coming school year. And now I begin to conclude, and I know you're happy to hear that. But I would like to say that today I have spoken about the many changes underway in Irish education. It has ever been thus. We have always been fortunate as a country to have dedicated teachers who have responded to the challenges they face and the needs of the students that they serve. One of the most outstanding men of Irish history, and also a Kerry man, Daniel O'Connell, had his own educational challenges in his youth due to the restrictions imposed by the penal laws on Catholics. He had to get his early education from a hedge school master, and he was barred from studying in universities in England or indeed Ireland. He was only able to further his education because a wealthy uncle sent him to school in northern France. Turtle Bambury, the historian, has recounted how his headmaster there, Dr. Stapleton, gave him a promising school report. Unless I am very much mistaken, this boy is destined to be a remarkable figure in society, he wrote. Now that was a teacher who could spot potential. To my mind, that is the real giftedness of teachers. The ability to identify potential and do all in one's power to mentor, nurture, and guide the student to achieve their fullest potential. Thank you to each one of you, individually and collectively, for all that you do for students every single day in your classrooms. Thank you for seeking out potential and fostering it. Thank you for ensuring, by your commitment and dedication, that teaching remains a noble profession. Thank you for all that you do. Gur míle maith agaibh go léir.